Thank you very much. And good morning to you all. I'd like to thank Letizia Moratti, the co-founder of the San Patrignano community, for having invited Minister Stefania Gelmini to participate in this very important meeting. Positive Economic Forum, now at its third edition, is increasingly establishing itself as a place, as an event that is absolutely indispensable because it provides a high-quality public debate, especially on the topics of education. Unfortunately, the minister was not able to come because she has previous commitments. However, she wanted to send you a greeting, and she asked me to read this message to you. We intend to participate in this exchange of experiences and visions between institutions and civil society. At this point, I shall also try and answer the question that the chairman just asked me. The concept of positive university calls us as a public institution to shoulder a considerable responsibility. On the 8th of April last year, here in San Patrignano, there was a workshop that involved Italian and foreign universities and businesses. In that 10 ideas for the positive university, it was an agenda with 10 points, we agree with that agenda. And we agree especially with the actions that have been undertaken in the past 2 years. And it is within this context that we can speak of innovation for the well-being of our students, because only a positive university can plan initiatives along these lines. From the very beginning of its life, this government has aimed to invest on the well-being of students in schools, investing also on the structure of our schools. We want to ensure that there is safety for our pupils in the schools, and schools must be safe, must be beautiful, must be characterized by proper decorum. In universities, the situation is different. Today, every university has its own autonomy, has freedom of action to promote the well-being of its own students. But this is not otiose, as it were. Universities are not in need of advertising or shallow one-off events. They need something continuous. They need to be able to provide continuous services, continuous administration of the buildings, of the venues, of the facilities. But they do need to be autonomous. Of course, autonomy does not mean to be in solitude without resources, and that's why investing in our public universities is a goal of this government. In the past 10 years, you know, there has been a disinvestment in our universities for the first time in the history of our republic. For 4 years running, there was a minus sign before the money that was provided for the universities in this country, 11.2% minus in terms of the funds for 4 years. As you've said, Italian universities were asked to do more with fewer resources. But in the past year, from 6 million euros in 2015 to 6.9 in 2016. So we have changed the mark, and there has been an increase in funds for the universities from the public purse. It would be reductive to think that a positive university is simply a university that receives more public funding. No, it would be irresponsible to do this, because without mechanisms that award or reward efficiency and effectiveness, this would create an oligarchy, but not a university of excellency, not a positive university. These mechanisms, and I'm very proud to be able to state that just a few days ago we had an acknowledgement in a report from the European Commission. The well-being of students and those who work in universities do not go through only through the simplification of administrative practices. They are not a public administration, and therefore we exercise the proxy that is contained in the simplification of the public administration, and we want to simplify the running and the administration of universities and also of the research centers of excellence. But a better level of well-being must relate to innovation, and the students tell us that. Students who come back from their Erasmus or exchanges abroad come back happy, stronger, more aware of their potential. That's our students, because they've compared them to other places in other countries. And you know, of course, there are some students who never do come back, but the sadness of those days cannot cancel the positive results of a program that has involved 350,000 students from Italy alone. But we cannot limit ourselves only to these exchanges that are so limited in time. We must intercept the wish to participate in Italian university life also on the part of foreign students. We've got to provide greater resources for universities, have greater internationalization, and more resources for our students. To be honest, however, I must say that today, to speak of the well-being of students in our universities may actually just suggest that universities are a luxury situation, a luxury item. No, we must consider universities as something that is part of the ordinary life of our young people. We are the only country where the number of students in our universities has actually decreased in recent years. Degrees are competitive advantage for those who achieve them. In the 7 years of the crisis from 2007 to 2014, those years in which youth unemployment has increased, the level of unemployment has increased 8.5% for those with degrees and 17% for the students who do not have a university degree and only have a secondary school certificate. So in the academic year 2015-2016, we have already witnessed a growth of 3.2% of new immatriculation. There has now been more than 50% of secondary school graduates who enroll in university. This is the first time in 3 years that the number has crossed the 50% threshold. So we need to ensure the right to study, the right to university study for our youth. The procedures and the processes must ensure that every young person has the right to attend a university, and this is a right that must be linked to merit, of course. Here too, as with universities, to put money in the right to study is an investment for this government. It's not an expenditure. We have increased the budget. 217 million is the total budget. It's been increased this year, and this increases the thresholds of all those who will be able to benefit from scholarships and grants. 25% of our students do not benefit from grants. So perhaps it would be better to pay them into the universities themselves and to also solicit private grants. This would be a radical innovation. Then there is another university which believes in progress, which works towards progress. This is our research centers. Research centers work hand in hand with our teaching institutions in the universities. The well-being of our students and their liveliness is usually a direct result of the liveliness of our teaching staff. And we now have this new project to hire new teaching staff and give greater incentives to them in order to attract our brains who have been drained abroad, to attract them back to this country. We have 700 new lecturers, thanks to 38 million euros for 2016 in our universities. So we have also taken the threshold off the number of new researchers who will be funded, and they will eventually be confirmed as assistant lecturers. In the public research centers, and in universities. This is not just a list of figures. This isn't a checklist. There is a new generation of academics which needs to be supported, which needs to be put in a condition to demonstrate what it's worth in new roles. And it's going to be the students to benefit from this. National research program that we're going to be unveiling shortly will be a far-sighted platform of a society based on knowledge and learning, and this will change our universities at the root. We will have 2.5 billion euros to finance positive research. We will invest in human capital, in research centers, greater cooperation between public and private, greater internationalization, a special attention to the south of Italy and to the quality of our public expenditures. I am pleased to be able to announce that in our public-private partnership, we will devote funds not just to industrial research, but 34 million euros will be devoted to philanthropy in research and to support startups of a social nature, including with a system of vouchers for the acquisition of knowledge and experience in our universities. The program then includes 12 areas of specialization, including sustainable mobility, smart, secure, and inclusive communities, which have such a high impact in our everyday lives. Therefore, it will be the universities themselves that will provide the well-being of their students with an increase of positive economy notions within universities. And the universities will be leaders and multipliers and regenerators. They will be hubs of well-being as applied to everyday life. They will be push factors of quality where talent will be able to emerge with greater ease.